Welcome back. Props for the last hour. My name is LizMcGee, and I have much meat today. I'm going to impart something. I just want to say up front, it has taken me 38 years to explain a Bible verse. Now that to me is a long time. To be patient and to realize that I had much to learn until I could get down to the level of, well, what, the other day it just dawned on me, I read this verse again after the 100th time and I went, I get it. I had the flash of light off my brain and I was so thankful to the Father. I said, I get it. I think I get it, at least on this level. So I'm going to impart. But so the verse is in 1 John 5, in your New Testament, verses 5 through 6. And the thing is, this is a special verse to me because when I was first saved, you know, I got saved in my late 20s at about 27, right? So that is about 30, you did math, 37, 38 years ago, okay? So I remember reading this verse and I remember thinking to myself, oh, that is so deep. Even then I had a sense like, I don't know what it just said. I was like, oh, but boy, that's something really deep. And I've always felt in particular about this verse, and I think this was the beginning of the Father's call, you know, deep, calling to deep, like, ooh, come with me. There are some very deep places that we can go. So let me just read the verse and jump in. It says, verse 6, this is the one who came by water and blood. Yeshua, well, Jesus Christ, or Yeshua Moshiach, all right, he did not come by water only. And let me get back to that because I know I have a hard time staying on track, but water, what that's referencing, okay? But by water and blood. And it is the Spirit who testifies, because the Spirit is the truth. For these are three that testify, the Spirit, the water, and the blood. And the three are in agreement. And I think, oh my gosh, how are these words being used? What is blood being referred to? What is water? What is spirit? What is all this depth? Now, after years of studying, and especially studying the esoteric texts, the Jewish mystical texts in the house of Judah, who I will tell you this up front, Ephraimite teacher, Christian, or even Jew, if you don't understand the legacy that is in the house, in the mystical writings, the oral Torah, the Zohar, the deep, then you'll never figure out the deep levels of the Torah. It is coded. I've even given introduction. I've said this a million times. This is the truth. More and more people contact me and are saying, I get it, I see it. And there is such anti-Kabbalah rhetoric out there, and if you have that coming out of your mouth, and you're a teacher, I just have to warn you today, and I'm saying this, you had better be in the fear of Elohim. Because when you stand before him, he's going to ask you, he's going to say, what was up with that? Why did you hate me so much? The deep, my hidden sides, my hidden parts. And I'm just saying, that is all allegorical language. Yes, there is a soul level to the Torah. There's a visible level, a literal level, but there is a soul level, a hidden deep level. It's all over the text. So what we're going to do is break this down because most people, even elementary people, understand that there's all these lists, all these number groupings in the Bible. Threes get grouped together. There's sevens, there's 12s, there's 10s, there's 4s, there's 5s. And most people, and I have pages and pages of keeping these lists myself and trying to track and what it's really representing. And what it really is it's code. It's just sort of a way in which, because the text is also very mathematical. In Hebrew, you should know every letter is a number. So it is not only, it's a mathematical language, and it is a chemical in the sense that the letters are glyphs that are imparting like almost bits of information. We call this DNA bits. Okay, so that is, and one thing I want to say also, why people are understanding that the Hebrew, getting back to the Hebrew, understanding how the Torah was written in almost like streams of consciousness a little bit in terms of the placement of the letters with the vowels and with the, that's why I'm going to show my non-Jewish, the little notations, the little dots and other things, the Nokian, I believe it's called. It's another name for it, okay? Those things all work together by insanely precise rules. You don't arbitrarily. That's why they would throw out a whole Torah if it had one little dagesh that was wrong. Okay, because the rabbis, the scribes, the sages, the people in the transmission line truly understood what they were doing and what was at stake. All right, so we need to get on their page. One person I was just dialoguing with, which is really exciting, but it was speaking about, okay, there's something out there today called the documentary hypothesis. You know, people who don't understand Torah, you know, who are ever learning and never able to come to a knowledge of the truth, make up all these theologies. That's why we're all over the place. Documentary hypothesis, so that the texts are written by different authors and they called from here. No, this is yes, it's many different authors, but these are all authors that are very steeped in a very specific transmission scribal school that's very strict. All right, and they knew what they were doing. All right, so in other words, the Torah is written like in many people say that there's Bible codes. So 49 letters, you'll go 49 letters, and then there'll be a very specific letter. I mean, it's all so precise and perfect. All right, in Hebrew and yes, I know we don't have the original Hebrew, but it isn't. That's what's not important. What's important is understanding that there was and this is what Moshe received. This was, I believe, Adam took this out of the garden. This is a way of transmitting accurately information with bits and code compacted together into subsets, encoded, so that you can retain insane amounts of information. Think of this today, people, when you have when the littlest, tiniest grain, smaller than a grain of sand, so they're getting so small, the insane amounts of information. That's how we have to look at these Torah letters. So, am I going to be a point? Oh my gosh, I don't think that usually that I'm going to get on so many soapboxes, but I have to. The letters, the 70, there's a whole story about the Tower of Babel. The languages were confused, and that there's now the 70 languages of the nations. But see, people argue, oh, what was the original language? Well, listen, what we have today is, yes, a far removed, visible glyph or inscription, like our letter, the Hebrew letter Aleph, is different than the original glyph. But what's important to understand is the ancients truly did, especially pre-flood, understand the original glyph impartation of information. And it is this is part of, all wrapped up in what is called, the Watcher Angels told them the secrets of heaven. They taught them in a level of combinations. This gets into such deep stuff that was not supposed to be, like, it was sort of angelic knowledge. All right, it wasn't for the humans with free will who could get in there and have to dabble around with this level of understanding. All right, unless you were like fallen man. All right, this is the history of mankind. Oh my gosh, Pandora's box. You just put it out there and somebody's going to open it. It's not going to be pretty. All right. So the 70 nations, there are many languages in the world. Oh, yes, we have Greek. Greek is not the primary language. I don't even want to get into this. All I wanted to say was that we have to understand what a glyph is, what a language, primordial, like chemical language. There's a language that's agreed upon that is disseminating the information for that concept. All right, and that was the original language. All right, and then it got compounded. It got confused at Babel because obviously, and I won't even get into the story, but you have to understand how the power of fallen angels and fallen man having access to that knowledge at that level. All right, Yahweh was just not going to put up with another Tower of Babel. Like, not in every generation. He's just not going to put up with it. All right, so it's taken really this long to kind of get back as it was in the days of Noah. All right, but anyways, we're going to get into some of these groups. So this is what's going on. So let me say this, just like, okay, John. People are trying to figure out who's John? Is the John of the first John that I'm reading for the same as the John of the Gospel book, and is it the same as the John of Revelation? One of the things that it doesn't really matter. Okay, truly, what matters is the information, the theological information that is coming from this language, is it accurate, and is it being disseminated correctly and transmitted authoritatively? That's really the issue. And you can, to the best of our ability, reading a bunch of different translations, getting it through, you can kind of piece together. They do this with the Dead Sea Scrolls. I mean, listen, there are tons of, my ignorance again, locutions, like blanks, like, they're so fragmented, so you'll get like 3 words, and then they'll be blank, 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 and then they pick it up again, and they kind of insert what they think it could be. These are what the scholars do. They think, according to their theology and their understanding, and I'm saying they're giving it their best shot. So, but when you get down to, if people would just truly just settle down and spend the time, and this is, I'm speaking to Ephraimite teachers coming back into Hebrew roots, coming back into the Torah understanding, if you will not take the time to read the literature yourself and try to get the mindset, get the language, you're ever going to be learning and never coming to the truth, and you're going to continue to be a blind guide leading others, on all the side ditches, okay? So, this is one who came by water and blood. These words are code words. They are very specific in their meaning, and they all everything refers originally to the concept of the tree of life, which is, it's a Hebraic, it is a Enoch, it's in Enoch, it's in the writings. Adam came out of the garden after interfacing with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. Okay, so he had some understanding. Now, these are not literal, okay? These are symbolic. These are words that are packed with theology. But the point is, Adam walked out of the garden into this new dimensional, atmospheric, vibrational world that he now had to see, and he had a ton of understanding with him. All right, that's number one thing to understand. So the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that this is so ancient and so fundamental. But let's just go back to the author of John. So, okay, so we have 4 Gospels. It's not an accident. See, this is what I'm saying. The mathematical groupings together of concepts, words, ideas, there's nothing arbitrary about it. So that is why every single letter, 1 is so theological, 2s are theologically important, 3s are theologically important. This is why you have 12 tribes. If you get down to it, there's 7 fruits in the land, in the agricultural year land of Israel. There are 12 zodiacal signs. Okay, and the Mazrath is as much Hebrew. It is originally the heavens. This is as Hebraic as you can get. All right, and that's why there's 12 months. I mean, there are 7 metals that are referred to over and over. Gold and silver and copper, mercury, lead. This is very specific. All right, out of all of the metals in the world, really and truly, they pick these 7 and they encode a concept in it. So if you were in the skinny, if you had the keys, if somebody was teaching you what that means, you would always know every time you saw it what is being referenced. These are the keys of the kingdom that technically has been totally lost. This is why there's 7 days of the week. If you look at your text closely, you will find that there are 7 directions. All right, there's north, south, east, and west. There's up and down, and then there's a center. So there's all sorts of geographic, and they're not just in the physical geography. These directions totally reference the tree of life, and like where north is in another dimension. Okay, it's incredible how they did this. There are 4 the Bible talks about 4 different dimensions. This is a code where, like it says, when there's things in heaven, spiritually, there are things on earth. This is where we are on earth. There are things that are in the sea. That's another concept of dimensionality. And there are things that are under the earth. Okay, very specific. There are, if you get into, there's 10 body parts. The Bible talks over and over and over about, there's the head and the heart, there's the skull, there's the left hand, there's a right hand. There is, there's the reproductive organ, okay? Sign of the covenant, to tell you on one level, over and over is talking about the male phallus. I mean, who would have known this stuff unless you had the keys, okay? So, there are 5 basic, one of the most primary ways is the 5 elements, all right? It's earth, air, fire, water, and ether, okay? That's a very ancient understanding, and all of these can be paralleled today with today's language, which is science would call this different states of like solid, liquid, air, plasma, and the quantum dimension. So now this is why, again, there's 5 in the Tetragrammaton. There are 5 basic. Most people think it's 4. See, this is where it's a little, you got to get deeper into this stuff. It's Yod, He, Vav, He, but the Yod is written, if you're not, with a little point at the top. It's got a crown on it. So really, and it's specifically done that way. Now, a lot of the more profane writings take these notations out. They simplify it. Basically because they're simplifying it, but if you were a true Torah sage and you were reading the Torah, get an art school or something, and it'll have all these little, and I think they're the Nikuds, Nikkud, little vowels, and all the little notations, okay? Those are the jots and tittles that are so important in this. So you have 5 levels of the soul. I've been over and over this, and this is where, when I get into this verse, when I start my little rant here about all this, this is totally established. The Hebrew word, there are 5 words for soul in the Hebrew, okay? This is why Greek is so inadequate, okay? There's 10 Sephiroth in the tree of life. There are, I said 10 planets. There are 10 Midos. Midos are ethical qualities or character traits. This is one of the things, especially if you look, when I say the tree of life, I'm talking about this Kabbalistic diagram that'll pop up every time you put in Kabbalah. And it's so scary to people. Well, it's like, what first grader knows how to read a chemical chart? No, that's way later when you finally figure it out and get enough body and knowledge, all these different things that you can understand that, yeah, there are very sophisticated ways of transmitting a lot of this information. So there is, so there's more. So there's 10 shepherds, or there's 7 shepherds. This is why in our patriarch, and there's 7 colors. None of these things are accidents, all right? So my point with all that. So this is why in the Trinity, all right? And this is, I'm going to do 2 teachings soon that I'm working up to, I'm going to do a teaching on the Trinity, the Hebraic understanding of the Trinity, because one of the things the Jews tell us, when they look at Ephraimite Christianity, they say, well, what are you guys talking about? A Father, a Son, and a Holy Ghost, and this three male man Trinity kind of thing, okay? And what it truly is Hebraically according to the tree of life. Now, let me just say this, just as a little quick teaser. There's 10 Sephiroth, there's 10 emanative understandings of Elohim in the tree of life, right? And everybody should know that the tree of life is Yod, He, Vav, He, 5 worlds. This is the tree of life, right? Chaim. This is the Moshiach tree, okay? This is, all right? 3s. Okay, 3s. All right, the Trinity. Okay, so the Trinity we have 3. A Father, a Son, and a quote-unquote Holy Ghost, which is male. So how 2, it's, okay, Hebraically, a 10 Sephiroth. In a way, there is that's why 3s are important, grouping subsets, all right? You do have Yod, He, all right? Because Yod He Vav He with the fifth. See, this is the, and the fifth. This is why a lot of times 4 and 5, and 5 is the all-inclusive. But for all intents and purposes, we as people, the way we're wired down here, we almost cannot attain the 5th level. That is the level of Adam Cain. That is the level of Moshiach. Our brains, you know, that's why we're not Moshiach. You know, we're not God, because we just don't have the programs that can get high enough to grasp that. But we know biblically it is there. Okay, so sticking with the 4. Yod He is really kind of representing the world of the mother and the father that is outside of a created or a what is called Zer Anpin, which is called the lower 7. So in the Sephiroth, the greatest and most fundamental breakdown is 3 at the top and 7. 3 and 7 is 10, right? Or you can go 3 and 6 and 1. In other words, the sun is the Vav, and this is why the Vav is made up of 6/7, because depending on what information they're imparting, sometimes they spin off the bottom one, which is Malkut, which is physicality, which is where we are, matter, the earth. They spin it off as a separate, you know, they show how it is a separate dimension, or they lump it in there with the 7. All right, but the ancients totally got this. So this is why you got 7 planets, 7 days of the week. This is why the 7. It is always referencing this lump together of 7 Sephiroth, and it's this is the whole world from Beria down to Asiyah that we can pretty much wrap our mind around, and we can navigate. We do have the programs, okay, for these lower 7. You must have. This is the whole point of the soul life. This is the whole point of being in covenant, being kind of born again. To get into the highest levels of, you have to get the programs. I mean, this is really, and you got to get them downloaded. Look at yourself as just a massive computer. You got to get it downloaded in order to access it. So this is kind of a little bit what's going on. But the point is, the Trinity of 3 is such a profane, diluted, messed up Gentile, you know, how far the Gentile Christianity has come from its Hebrew roots. But the fact that there are 3 classifications is a little bit accurate. But when you really open it up and unpack it, oh my gosh, it's so much more beautiful and deep. And then then you begin to understand, you know, why you shoot different incarnations of Mashiach. What's going on here? There's so much deep stuff going on. Okay, so sticking with, in our groupings in this verse, we have 3s. We have what is called spirit, water, and blood. Okay? So what I want to say, spirit, water, and blood is a code subset of what is contained in this world of Zer Anpin, of the lower 7 Sephiroth. Okay? So, and within this, there's all sorts of extra classifications, or like, look at this as subsets, all right? So when it talks about 4, I'll just give you a few things. So why we have 4 Gospels, and this is why, again, let's take these groupings that we know. We have 4 Gospels, right? Okay, are they related to each other? This is the point. Yet we know there's 12 tribes, and we know the tribes were camped in a way of groupings of 3 tribes together on different sides, which they know now comes to a north, south, east, and west, and in the center. And remember how I told you there was 5 when you get into, there's 7. Wait a minute, I just found my list here. When you get into the groupings of the directions, you have north, south, east, and west, which is basically on a flat kind of plane, if you're on a flat. But then it's not only that, you have up and you have down. That's technically totally in the text to tell us that, so that there are, like, the heavens are up, right? We're below, so that makes you down here on earth. And then there is a center, so that's why within this 12 tribes, you had the way they were put together. They're on the earth. This is why they're on the, you know, these are Adamites. We're talking in this literal sense. They are camped out on the earth in grouping of 3, around a center. The Levites were in the, the temple, or the tent, the tabernacle's in the middle. It's all done very specifically because there's always correspondence. It's always a mirror image. There was no haphazardness about this. They were deliberately doing this. And there is up and there is down. And this gets into even deeper where you get why there was a pillar of fire at night and a cloud during the daytime that they would follow, which is really also representing an up and a down. Okay, so all of this information is coded, but in the 12 tribes, we know that there were four forces. So there's a huge grouping of 4. What's important about this is it relates to the Mazzaroth in the sense we know that there are 12 zodiacal houses, so to speak, or zodiacal months, signs. And these are all windows of time. We know the heavens moves through these different cycles, and so this is what they're really telling us. It's a very flowery, zoological, anthropomorphic way of giving us the movements of the heavens. I mean, a rose is still a rose no matter what you call it. Okay, this is something we really have to understand. But there are 4 zodiacal houses, but there again, those 12 are grouped into, and this gets into Ezekiel's vision in what's called the Merkabah, what he saw when he saw like this ox and this man and this, what are the 4? The ox, the man, the eagle, and the bull, I believe. Okay, so he saw these 4 things. This is not arbitrary. This is referring to the zodiacal houses again. And what he saw was their whole movement, the up and the down and the north and the south, the wheels. I mean, he saw the whole cosmos as it was moving, because it's an alive organism. This is nothing we understand. These aren't just benign forces out there moving around. These are living souls. These are living intelligences that Yahweh made, and they're all in different dimensions. You ever do a study on the throne room, and you got these living beasts, and you've got the elders. These are very specifically referring to angelic orders that Yahweh has created that interface with him and work with him. They're his deputies, his sergeant, whatever, the craftsmen. There's so many different names. They're the shepherds. They're those who run the universe, okay? So this is what they're doing when they're grouping a lot of this stuff together. But the 4 Gospels, this is my final point to say, which needs to be understood about souls. That's why I'm talking a lot about our souls. We have lost so much of our ancient Hebraic understanding of who we are. Okay, we are light beings. We are spiritual entities. Our bodies, and this is the whole thing about, in Greek philosophy, is the body evil or the soul? This is it doesn't. The body is just made up of physicality, of things that we know disintegrate and get recycled. Okay, this is so fundamental to understanding. It is the soul that is inside that body, that once the body dies and that soul is released, that soul goes places. Okay, and this is a huge, I'm not even going to get into it. But what's important to understand in this whole thing, why there are 4, because souls come from or through or radiate, or I don't know what imagery you need to understand. Our souls are like massive downloads of information coming from different parts of the zodiacal universe around us, okay? But they basically come filtered through 4 very specific channels. Remember, it says that there were 4 rivers in Eden. Ultimately, the 4 rivers, it's not talking about physical rivers down on earth, people. It is talking about 4, the fundamental 4, the original breakdown after Eden of the light, the primordial light of life in the beginning. There's the breakdown as it goes out into different parts of the cosmos. So souls filter through different, almost like portals. All right. Now, I'm not promoting astrology in the sense of you live your life by it. No, because any Jew or any understanding, there's our, and this is what Abraham is, there are higher things going on besides the sun and the moon and their movement. That's just one dimension. But our souls definitely filter, are funneled through at the time of our birth and many auspicious times. I mean, this is so deep to understand. We need to understand how this, the whole mechanism works and affects us, a basal, okay? So this is why there is some validity to astrology, and people, I mean, I'm an Aquarius, I mean, it's so, in some ways I so fit that, okay? Because, all right, but then again, it doesn't rule my life. I have higher programs that I can access and run in that put me above the Mazal, but the Mazal can be a total complement. Like my personality, the parts of me that are innately wired in my Nefesh soul can be a great blessing and can be a great showcase for the glory of Elohim that they never to shine through. Redeemed, and when it's, you know, okay, and the point is this, we're not all the same, and this is something that fundamentally does need to be understood, and especially when you understand the Gospels and some of the transmission of information. Not everybody runs on the same programs, okay? Not everybody is interested in the same kind of knowledge stream that's very specific. I've always been drawn to very deep esoteric knowledge. I've always wanted to know what's behind the man behind the curtain. What is behind everything? Okay, I've always, that is not an accident. It's just for some reason that program has always run, okay? Conversely, you know, my husband and I are so well matched because I couldn't pay bills on time for my life. I mean, he is so able to keep, you know, sometimes I'm so heavenly minded, I'm no earthly good. So praise Elohim. I have a helpmate. You know, we're matched perfectly. Everything that I can't do, and I'm not wired to do, he can do. I mean, these are the good, this is why, you know, and this is some of the beauty of marriage and asbestos, that the opposites are coming together and making a whole that functions, you know. Oh my gosh, anyways. That's just one piece of it, believe me. We've had our ups and our downs too, like everybody else. But so this concept of the souls, this is what the Gospels is representing. That's why John is the esoteric writer. He is transmitting the deep sod level of understanding. All right, that is the stream that is manifesting through Book of Revelation. Oh my gosh, like I've said a million times, don't even try to read it unless you have mastered the mystical text. You'll never, ever get it, and you'll try to impart it on some literal level, which is just does more damage than good. Okay, and this is why Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, don't think the writers didn't do this deliberately. Don't think it's an accident that we have had such a hard time piecing together the historical people and narrative and places, and at the expense truly of ignoring what is the information that's being transmitted, all right? Why do the Gospels, they're not contradictory. They're just they're just emanating different streams of understanding, all right? And looking at this thing, because they're all necessary, all right? Ultimately, in all Israel, all 12, all right? It's not going to be just Judah up there. It's not going to be just a bunch of, you know, whatever. It's going to be 12, and these are representable numbers. It's going to be 12,000 from 12 tribes, okay? Which is telling in a holistic sense. It's a large corporation put together of souls that are reflecting that element, because he's the one who set this thing all up. But anyways, let's get back down to, because John, what the most interesting thing is when you read this verse, okay, so John, if anybody's read anything, if it's the same person, for me, it doesn't matter. To me, he's the Essene of the group. He's the esoteric of the group. He's the one on the sod level, because I've told you I follow parts, which means, you know, the Bible is written on different levels. Don't let it freak you out. Just find your level that you like, the Peshat, the Remez, the Drash, the Sod, and the Sod of the Sod. Even in the mystery level, Sod, however you say, is there's a encrypted deeper level, even in the soul. That's why Paul talks about the mysteries. Okay, so this is done deliberately. Some people really are drawn to the Peshat level, and that's fine, but we have to stop shooting each other in the foot, bad-mouthing, biting and devouring one another. Okay, so I'm tired, even for my teachers, and mostly men out there, I'm really sick of it, who are constantly biting and devouring each other, like over Kabbalah. Oh, and people, I'm not a Kabbalist, I'm not a Kabbalist. And many of them, because I've talked to them, are secret Kabbalists and are such cowards, won't even come out and say that, yes, they do have these understandings, they do appreciate, they do it, but oh my gosh, I don't dare say anything publicly because I might lose some of my subscribers. Oh my gosh, woe unto you, cowards do not inherit the kingdom of heaven. All right, we have to press in to take this by force. All right, okay. Oh my gosh, get myself in a lot of trouble. So this is so in John, these 4 verses. So let's go get this. This is the one who came by water and blood. Okay, because water and blood are very specific. I'll get to this. Yeshua, haMashiach, Messiah ben Joseph. Again, one aspect of the incarnation of the Moshiach in our different aeons to get the job of salvation done for the whole world. Okay, he did not come by water only, but by water and blood. Okay, this is and it is the Spirit who testifies, because the Spirit is truth. For there are 3 that testify: the Spirit, the water, and the blood, and these 3 are in agreement. Okay, now let me say 2 quick things about the water. And this word testify, let me just say, for there are 3 that testify. If you look that word up, it is an interesting word. It does mean, the root is martus. In the Greek, it is to give an account, to give a testimony, to bear witness, to these. And John, see, this is why you know that there are different levels of information being imparted. This word is used 33 times in the Gospel of John. All right, and here it is in 1 John. So to me, I would say that they have to be the same person. All right, but whatever. It's really a straw dog argument. In the Gospel of Matthew, it's used once. In the Gospel of Mark, it's not even used at all. And in the Gospel of Luke, it's used once. So think of that. Just here's a one with 33 times. What is being imparted? That's a huge flag of that there's something. What is this testimony? It's not just a surface testimony. It's bearing record, bearing witness of something much deeper. Okay, so that's one way you can kind of like get a remez, a hint. Hello, there's a hint here. Okay, now water. Why would John say this is the one who came by water and blood? This is the one who came by water and blood. He did not come by water only. Okay, now when you understand these words, okay, right, in the blood, water, and spirit are specifically words to reference the 3 levels of the soul life of the righteous Sadiq. Okay, blood represents our Nefesh soul. All right, so our Nefesh soul life is the most fundamental. It is the animalistic program that runs in us. It literally is housed in our blood vessels, in our bone marrow. I mean, think about it. Everything has to have a vessel. You have to have something to put something in, all right? So this is the whole point. Our body is perfectly created to house this Nefesh soul life, which is the initial animating soul process through which I live my most basic earthly human level. I eat, I sleep, I drink, I have to exercise. I mean, I have appetites, I have passions, these things, as we talked about I'm an Aquarius. I mean, I have definite predispositions of personality. Absolutely. All right, not an accident. All right, this is all housed in the Nefesh. All right, so blood, that's why the word is there, blood, because it is in the life of the flesh. See, clue, it's the life of the flesh. It doesn't say, it's very specific, the flesh, it's the body. All right, so this program is housed in the flesh, in our blood. Okay, enough of that. The water is a word that represents the soul level of Ruach. Okay, now Ruach is a very, you ever heard that phrase, unstable as water? Okay, that's our emotional level. Ruach is the next level up, and I've done some teaching on this. This is why, this is really quick review for a lot up to speed. The Ruach is like it's like, just like a barometer, the temperature can go up, the temperature can go down. Think of that exactly. It can get hot, we can be passionate for the Lord, zealous for Him, or we can be totally cold and, close to dead. This is a barometer of spirituality. It can bring us totally up to the next level and usher us into, or it can keep us, or we can use this Ruach to keep us down and lower level, always operating very close to the Nefesh level. Okay, so water moves, and it's very unstable, and it's always changing, and there's many depths up to it. Okay, so this is why they use these words specifically. Because everything about it, even water that's closer to the sunlight. Okay, and you can tons of teaching. The fish that live up near the surface versus all these things that live deep down in the depths of the dark oceans. I mean, it's not, and that's where, the monsters of our soul are, so to speak, the hidden deep recesses. This world of water, this world of Ruach, it's called the world of Yetzirah, and it's the Vav in the Yod He Vav He is extremely deep. But it's a very accurate word. So when it says that this is the one who came by water and blood, that he did not come by water only. Okay, many of the incarnations of Yeshua or of the Moshiach, let me put it this way, before he incarnated in blood, in Nefesh soul life, in a body. So in other words, before he came in bodily form and lived among us, all right, he would incarnate by water only. Many people would see him. This is the point. Even Abraham, these are the epiphanies, is that the right word? As the angel of the Lord. This is a very specific. We know that Moshiach would manifest in the physical plane to people, to Abraham, one of the three angels. I mean, there's tons of examples of this in the Old Testament. And when Yod He Vav He, the Moshiach, would incarnate in the world of Asiyah, pre-bodily, pre-Old Testament, or pre-Yeshua of the New Testament, he would come is in water only. So this is why they kind of, is he spirit? Is he only spirit? And this is why Yeshua would say, no, come and touch it. I got flesh and bone. This time I came by blood and by water. Okay, in other words, I'm in bodily form this time now. I'm not in water only, and of course, and it is the Spirit who testifies, and he's always, because he's the Moshiach, he always has the higher program. But this is something very important to understand. This is why, if you say that he does not, that Yeshua has not come in the flesh, what you're really saying, that there was no bodily incarnation of him, which there totally was, and that's a very important theology to the storyline. Okay, so he did not come by water only, but by water and blood. So this Yeshua Messiah ben Joseph, all right, this archetype, he really did come bodily in the flesh, all right, and he had all the other programs running with him. Okay. So, and it is the Spirit who testifies, because the Spirit is the truth. And the highest level, see, and this is one thing we need to understand. The highest level, Adam Cademan, this is the rock. This is the crown on the Yud. He comes from a place that it's untouchable. It is permanent. It is an essence of LA that doesn't change. It's not water. It's not physicality, which is subject to death. Spirit and truth. He comes from a realm, a place that is beyond Zeranpin, the lower seven. Okay, and this is what's important to understand. But spirit is referring to the breath. This is a program that Yeshua had. The breath of life. This is why Yeshua. It is kind of deep. I don't want to lose anybody, but he had all programs running in him in his bodily form. This is why a lot of times, they're trying to figure out, well, was he divine or was he human? I mean, if you don't have the deeper understanding, in my opinion, you can't synthesize it. You can't put it together in your mind, because you have to understand Moshiach. He runs on all nine all the time, so to speak, okay? We don't, all right? We're promised in the world to come, all right? We will finally reach a level of immortality, which is different even than eternity. Those words are not totally synonymous, all right? Only Moshiach, this level of emerald of truth, this stone, this is of eternity. Okay, there's so much in this stuff, but I don't want to get too, all right, I just want to get through this. So it goes here, so we have water, blood, and spirit. What that's telling us is the three levels of the soul life. You have the Nefesh, the Ruach, and the breath, the Neshama, okay? The Neshama was totally, this is in the fall, was totally severed. This is with the Neshama. So you had this disconnect that had to happen. That is why, the symbolism, you had to push them out of the garden, away from the tree of life, away from this program of Neshama, this higher level, because they would have lived forever in this fallen state. We couldn't have it. So this is why it's, look, just go off in your Nefesh soul life. You'll be fine. I will be with you. I'll send you my Shekinah. I mean, there's so much, she'll be with you in exile. I'm going to work out a whole salvation plan. And this is, it's all been coming down beautifully. We're almost at the wrap-up. So these three, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, we are referring to the four. Now there's four worlds, and like I said, there's really five, but for all intents and purposes, we can only really wrap our minds around the lower ones, which is the world of Asiyah, which relates to the world of Nefesh, which relates to the blood, which is in physicality. We share this with all the animals. Plants have Nefesh life. Nefesh soul programming really is in everything, all the four kingdoms, okay? Then you have Yetzirah, which is the next level up, which is it's coded, what they're talking about when they talk about the water. And I've been through this. It's the astral world. It is the world of our emotions. It's the world of the heart. In its redeemed state, it's absolutely beautiful. Believe me, you do not praise Yahweh. Well, when you praise him with your Ruach, you're really praising and entering into the heavens. This is what, you don't praise him with your lower level. Oh, I don't even want to get into that. I mean, when you understand, again, this even explains worship and praise and prophecy and what's going on and how when you elevate, this is, relates to Jacob's ladder, all this kind of stuff. Then you have the world of breath, the world of the spirit, which is the world of Beria, which is where the throne room is. The throne room of Elohim is where it's talking about. This is this world, okay? And you literally got to be invited up there. Maybe Enoch went, Isaiah went, I think Paul went. I mean, there's definitely, our prophets were able to access that, all right? But it is no place that, only really, really holy Siddiqs, okay? But it's there, okay? And then above that is the word Yod. And I told you on top of the Yod is a little crown. So even these three, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, really encompass only the lower 7 Sephirific understandings we have on the tree of life. And then outside of that, you have Yod. All right? And this is why he's saying, Yeshua is basically looking, I'm not even of this world. You do what you want to the body, because it doesn't matter to me. I have life. I have other programs that you can't kill, that I access, and I'll just raise myself up again. I mean, it's like talking to stupid humans. It's like, oh my gosh, okay, whatever. So this is what he's saying now, that these three agree, the spirit, the water, and the blood, and these three are in agreement. This is basically the whole point of the Shema prayer. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. There's a unity. None of these things operate all on their, it's just like our body. It's all coming from command central, the brain. The body parts move, and my mouth, everything moves in accordance with these higher running programs, which again, you can't see them. They are hidden. This is why much of the heavens are hidden from us, allegorically in the sense, but they are there. This is why in Paul says, no one is going to have an excuse, because even a child can figure out that there's, the watchmaker behind the watch, that there's something going on, all right? So this testifies. This is what John is doing. 33 times he's using the word testify to testify to this oneness, to this unity, to this whole Sephirotic trio life concept, and how these words are used to encode information. So, because you guys, John was a Jew. He was 100%. It might be even an Essene Jew. He understood all the esoteric knowledge on these deep levels. He used these words. See, this is a New Testament, quote unquote, but it proves to me the continuity of the transmission stream, even through, quote unquote, the early church. These people knew the keys. They transmitted the information as accurately as any prophet before them, and they were able to, keep it together. And this is the testimony. This is the testimony that is all over the text, that there is knowledge for the profane and there is knowledge for the wise. The wise are people who get themselves schooled, educated enough to understand, to have enough understanding of Torah to put these larger theological subsets into their exegesis, okay, which is where we have to go. This is absolutely paramount. So that, I just think, I'm just going to end it, and I hope you enjoyed it. But I didn't tell you the other thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to teach about the Trinity, and I'm going to teach about the Ze'aron pin, the lower seven Sephiroth, the whole creation that we can't know, and how it is really being, because of our ignorance, because, my people are being destroyed for lack of knowledge, because we don't have this dot understanding, it is totally being repackaged and put out there and being used to put the lid on us of artificial intelligence, and this whole, they're repackaging it to us and selling it to us, and people are tapping into it, especially in the New Age and all these different levels of consciousness people are tapping into, prayer and meditation and visualization. And much of it is so Hebraic, understanding, but they're leaving Elohim totally out of the equation. And these teachers, these people, these gurus out there have much accurate information, yes, on how things work, our connection to the heavens, these levels of consciousness work, but they're failing to tell you that this is Hebraic in origin, that that Yahweh Elohim is all over it, and he sits at the top as the high Elohim over it. So everybody's going to give an account, even me. So I hope if I have to review this and come back and give a, correct myself, I will. So on that note, shalom, blessings. May Yahweh, Yahweh, Vavhe, will walk with you with all of his Sephirotic blessings of light and quality in your day. Shalom.